Have you ever looked up into the night sky and seen this tiny, shimmering cluster of stars? It almost looks like a little misty dipper. That's the Pleiades. But you probably know them by their more famous name, the Seven Sisters. They're one of the most beautiful sights up there. And believe it or not, they might just hold the key to the oldest story ever told by humanity. Okay, let's get right into this.
You see, for thousands of years, this little star cluster has been at the center of a fascinating two-part puzzle. It's a mystery that actually connects astronomy, ancient history, and the very origin of human storytelling itself. And here's the first part of that puzzle. Go outside on a clear night, find them, and count for yourself. Most of us, even with pretty good eyesight, can only make out 6 stars. So, why do we call them the Seven Sisters? Where did that number 7 come from? It's a question people have been asking for centuries. But that's not even the craziest part. This is where it gets really weird. Cultures from all over the world, from the ancient Greeks to the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, cultures that had zero contact with each other, all tell a strikingly similar story about these stars. It's always about 7 sisters being chased by some kind of male hunter figure. I mean, how is that even possible? So let's take a look at just how widespread these stories are, and how shockingly similar they can be. This isn't just a simple coincidence, folks. It's a global pattern that points to something much, much older. Okay, so first up, you've got the classic Greek myth, the one that gave the cluster its famous name. You have the 7 daughters of the Titan Atlas, and they're being relentlessly pursued by the great hunter, Orion. To save them, Zeus turns them into doves, then into stars, placing them in the heavens where Orion still chases them across the night sky for all eternity. Now hang on, because we're going to jump halfway across the planet and tens of thousands of years back in time. In Aboriginal Australian Dreamtime, there's a story about 7 sisters who flee into the sky to escape a man who wants to take one of them as his wife. And guess what? He follows them into the sky, and just like Orion, he's still pursuing them to this very day. I mean, when you break it down like this, it's just undeniable. The core elements are identical: 7 female heroes, a male pursuer, and an escape into the sky. The chances of 2 totally separate cultures coming up with the exact same specific story are basically 0. Something else has to be going on here. And get this, it's not just Greece and Australia. Not even close. Versions of this exact story, these sisters being chased, are found literally all over the globe. The same basic plot pops up in cultures that have been isolated from each other for tens of thousands of years. This has to mean the story is unbelievably ancient, carried by our ancestors as they first migrated out of Africa. Okay, so how do we even begin to solve a mystery this old? Well, we have to become detectives of deep time, part archaeologist, part astronomer. We need to look for clues, not just in stories, but in the actual artifacts our distant ancestors left behind. And let me tell you, our fascination with these stars goes way, way further back than you might think. This timeline really puts it in perspective. Yeah, we've got written records from ancient Greece, sure, but let's go deeper. Around 1600 BC, people in Bronze Age Europe were already carving the cluster into this amazing bronze disc. And if we go even further back, I'm talking deep into the last ice age, our Paleolithic ancestors might have been painting them on the walls of caves. Let's just take a second to appreciate this incredible artifact. The Nebra sky disk, found in Germany, is basically a bronze and gold map of the heavens. And right there, next to the sun and moon, is this unmistakable cluster of 7 gold dots. This proves that 3,600 years ago, people weren't just telling stories about the 7 sisters, they were mapping their location with precision. And now, for the really mind-blowing part. Let's leap back to about 17,000 years ago, to the famous Lascaux caves in France. We find this stunning painting of an aurochs, an ancient bull. And what's that right above its shoulder? A cluster of dots. This perfectly matches the location of the Pleiades in the sky, right inside the constellation we now call Taurus, the bull. This isn't just a few thousand years old, we're talking about a connection from the Stone Age. Okay, so we have a global myth about 7 sisters, and we have ancient art showing 7 stars, but we still only see 6. So what happened to the lost sister? Well, the answer isn't in a story. It's written in the slow, patient dance of the cosmos itself. This is the scientific reveal, and it's where it all comes together. To get this, we just need one key idea: proper motion. And it's way simpler than it sounds. Basically, stars aren't just fixed points of light. Over huge timescales, we're talking tens of thousands of years, they actually drift across the sky. You'd never notice it in your lifetime, but over deep time, this slow dance can completely change how our constellations look. And that brings us to the magic number. The number that ties this whole mystery together. 100,000 years ago. This is right around when modern humans began their great migration out of Africa, spreading across the globe and carrying their stories with them. And it's the key to everything. And here it is. This is the moment it all clicks into place. Using modern astronomy, we can literally rewind the sky. On the left, that's what we see today. Two of the stars, named for the mythical parents Atlas and Pleione, are so close that their light just blends together. That's why we see six. But on the right, that's what our ancestors saw 100,000 years ago. Because of proper motion, Pleione was much farther away from Atlas. All 7 stars were bright, distinct, and super easy to count. So, get this. The whole story about a lost sister, it wasn't just a myth. It's a memory. It's a scientifically accurate description of a real thing that happened in the sky. The story survived, perfectly explaining why this ancient tale of 7 stars no longer matched the 6 that people saw in their own sky. So let's put all these pieces together, because the solution to this puzzle has some really profound implications for human history, for our shared culture, and for how we see our own place in the universe. The theory that emerges is just so elegant. It all starts around 100,000 years ago. Our early ancestors in Africa looked up, they saw 7 bright stars, and they created the original story of the 7 sisters. Then, as they began to migrate out of Africa, they took that story with them, planting it like a seed in every new continent they reached. Over thousands and thousands of years, the stars shifted, and that 7th star, Pleione, got lost behind Atlas. But the story was too powerful to just disappear. Instead, it adapted. It evolved to include the mystery of the lost sister, preserving this ancient echo of a sky that no human had seen for millennia.
So why is this so important? Well, we could be looking at the single oldest story in human history, a story that has survived ice ages, epic migrations, and the rise and fall of countless empires. It's a direct cultural link to our ancestors from 100,000 years ago. It proves our myths aren't just fantasy. They are rooted in careful, scientific observation of the world. And maybe the most beautiful part, it means that almost every culture on Earth is connected by this one single story that began under an African sky.
It totally changes how you look at the night sky, right? It's not just a random collection of distant suns anymore. It's a library. It's a cultural map of our deepest, oldest history. And it really makes you wonder, what other stories, what other ancient memories are hiding up there in that slow dance of the stars, just waiting for us to figure out how to listen?